Hello everyone, I wanted to talk about a castle here in Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. It's also in the normal game, Dragon's Dogma, the Shadowfort, built to ward against a goblin invasion. And in the campaign, you actually make sure that the goblins no longer infest it. I know. So we just entered through this gate here to a very large open space, and there's not really anything here. So my guess is that the fortress actually starts there, and this is just an additional barricade. Immediately I can see the crenellations all the way at the top, and they look like they would indeed be tall enough for an archer to hide behind and sometimes shoot down. We have very thin slit windows from which archers could shoot arrows, another very good fortification. The towers also have machicolations, which are those things that seem to support the overhang on the tower, and in real historically accurate castles there would be a hole there, so people could throw or shoot or drop things down onto people trying to siege the fort. They are not in here, but I guess that would also be a lot of faces of the geometry, so that's fine. What else is there? Well, we have two towers which are convex, which is really good because if say a trebuchet launches a rock at the castle, it will just sort of glance off because it's convex. Not entirely certain why they made these parts of the wall concave, because now if a stone hits any part of these parts of the wall, they're just gonna always find their mark. Not too clever there. But moving on, I also see a wooden structure here that has been built to the side, presumably so that archers could station themselves there just to have more places from which to shoot arrows at whoever wishes to attack the castle. We have a very large wooden portcullis. Not as good as like metal, but still it would take some time getting through this, and with all of the machicolations, you know, were they functional, they would still, attackers would still be at quite a disadvantage. Then a double gate over here. That's very good design, though there's no murder hole over here, which is a place where attackers would basically be stuck trying to open a second gate, while archers could fire at them from all sides. Now maybe this could be a murder hole. This archway here seems to suggest that maybe a portcullis would or could have been here, but it doesn't seem to be there because it's sort of in ruins, and there don't seem to be any marks in the soil that there ever was a portcullis here. I also don't think that if this is a murder hole, there would have been doors here. Even if there wasn't a gate here, like, soldiers would still have to pass through here, so archers on the walls could still get good shots at them. And I think that this might be the murder hole. You could station archers on this side of the wall. Over on the far side, there are 1, 2, 3 ballistae, and there probably was one over here earlier as well, though it's not in here right now. One slightly annoying remark: these crenellations are not nearly tall enough to provide significant cover. Like, yeah, I suppose someone on the wall could duck or step backwards, but, you know, you'd want something tall to hide behind while people attack you. On these structures here in the middle, I actually think that the goblins made these, considering how crude looking they are and how hastily made, though I could be entirely wrong about that. But I do genuinely believe that this large plaza with a station room with some holding cells, that this is definitely without a doubt a gigantic murder hole, with ballistas firing at you and everything. A few barricades have been set up. You cannot climb over them because of the spikes and because it would be a really uncomfortable climb, I think, and the people you're trying to invade would be shooting at you and hitting you, so you'd have to walk around. Which is not too difficult if there are only 3 of them and spaced out this much, but it is some control over how the enemy would advance. Like with the crenellations, this is a good defense tactic, but it should have been done a little bit better. And I will talk a bit about the interior design of the castle. A lot of hallways, where it would basically be 2 fronts meeting each other, which is possibly not exactly what you want. You would basically want to fight them off on the battlements, like when they are still outside of the castle, because then the defenders have a huge advantage, and with a significantly smaller number can actually hold down a fort. But say they break through those defenses, maybe all of your archers have been shot because you don't have crenellations. You come here to a winding tower. And yes, a lot of castles from medieval times, when they would have been in use, did have these towers. However, they would have been very narrow and a very uncomfortable climb. I totally understand why the game didn't make these very narrow, because you have a camera following you around and you have to be able to see what you do. But I want to talk about how this tower, this spiral staircase, winds up. As you go up, you move clockwise. No, counterclockwise, as you see. So you move anti-clockwise. In reality, this would give an advantage to the invaders. Just imagine standing here and there are guys coming your way. Back in the day, everybody was trained to fight right-handed. For some reason, in medieval times, people thought left-handedness was a really evil trait, a trait of the devil. So everybody fought with their right hand. So if you are an invader coming up the staircase and you're fighting with your right hand, well, then the large pillar of the spiral staircase is actually giving you cover, making it easy for you to hit your enemy, while the enemy cannot easily hit you. So they've just decided to give the advantage to the invaders. And likewise, if you would be someone on top of the wall going down, you would have to awkwardly fight around the pillar with your right arm, which is not really possible. Again, you could use your left hand, but you weren't trained to do that. When we go to the other tower, it is actually mirrored. So in this version of the tower, the defenders do have the advantage. See, if I go down, I would be able to fight with my right hand, while attackers coming up, they would have to awkwardly fight around the pillar or fight with their left hand. So this tower actually gives an advantage to the defenders. And yeah, they just they just clearly made one spiral staircase and copied and flipped, mirrored the design. Fun fact about spiral staircases and how they would work. The developers do understand how nice this sort of cover is, where you can sort of take aim and shoot, but you can also step away. But you wouldn't want to rely on quick wooden makeshift barricades. You would want your crenellations, the stonework, to do that for you. That's all I wanted to say about the Shadowfort. If you have any thoughts about this, or additions, or you disagree with something I said, please let me know in the comments. So, my closing remark. I mean, it has crenellations and matriculations, but they seem to be form over function, which is a damn shame, because they give you a tremendous advantage when, holding down a fort. I just noticed that these parts of the staircase have sort of ramps, so a cart could very easily be pulled up the staircase. Okay, that changes everything. 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.